Welcome to another episode of the Football Thunders podcast. I'm me, he's him, you're you. Welcome back to the show. This is the third time we're trying this because my camera's not happy today. Quick shout out to the people at the lovely people that we follow on Twitter who follow us too. Let us talk mental health. The football team raising money for the mental health charity Mind with, oh my God, it's gone again. I'm just going to crack on with the show. Apologies to people viewing. Oh dear Lord. Oh, and I'm back. Good Lord. I'm buying a new camera for next week. Let us talk the football team raising money for mental health charity Mind in association with Dan Really, who, world's worst assistant manager. What can we say?
Not world's worst, up there, but maybe not the worst.
Not the worst.
No match fixing.
No match fixing. Pop over to Italy. You'll make a few bob.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Let's have a look at the table. We're going to pull up the tables and we're going to discuss our predictions, which, by the way, weren't very good. Got to say, I did go and listen to them earlier. Whoops. And there we go. Are we showing on screen now?
Yes. We are, yes.
Hopefully the screen shares better than my flashing camera. If anybody's got epilepsy, please look away from the screen. I really apologize. This is terrible. I don't know what it's doing. I don't know.
All migraines, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the camera or I just updated Zoom, so it might be that. Oh, dear Lord. I might just have to turn my camera off. I don't want to get an email saying that I gave someone a fit. Right, let's have a look at the table. Right, first of all, Arsenal, top of the table. Can we still see my the screen, or is this fucking pointless?
Yes.
You can still see it?
I can see the screen, yes.
Right, okay.
I just minimised you so that you don't hurt my eyes.
Right, let me quickly, I'm just going to turn, apologies, ladles and jelly spoons. I'm going to stop the screen share for a minute. I'm just going to turn my camera off because... stop the video. Is that how we do it? There we go.
It's about as useful as Everton's front line.
Exactly. Right. So
topical,
we're going to go.
Topical banter.
Very topical banter. We're going to go back and we're going to try again. Arsenal, top of the table. Big surprise for everybody. Very big surprise. We did predict that they do well given their pre-season business. But they've definitely excelled themselves. Dan predicted them to be in the top four and done very well. Second place, Manchester City. We actually predicted to be winning it again this year after they signed Haaland, and whoops, that hasn't gone down very, very well at all. Are you surprised by Arsenal, Dan?
I haven't watched any of them, so I can't really comment. I won't lie to the people. I haven't really paid attention to Premier League this year, so I'm in a way I'm surprised they're winning games, but from the limited I have seen them, they play really well. So I mean, they deserve to be up there, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I thought they'd make the Champions League, but I didn't think they'd piss the league.
Well, they're running away with it at the moment. They're like 8 points clear or something. I can't do maths right now.
7.
Well, it says
Funders do maths.
Funders can't do maths, according to this, because it says 39 points on this table for Manchester City and 47. So that makes 8 points for me.
Yes, you just said 9, though.
Did I?
Yeah.
I don't know. I blame my video camera. In third place, Manchester United, equal on points, but haven't played a game more than Manchester City. By the way, they drew 1-1 with Crystal Palace yesterday. Oh, my God. Michael Elise's free kick. Have you seen it, Dan?
No.
Oh, go on Twitter, have a look. It's the
most... It's a Palace goal, I refuse.
You have to watch it. It's unbelievable.
No, it's a Palace goal. I refuse.
It's the most casual, world-class free kick you will ever see. I predicted that they'd be in the top 8 this year, so I'm doing really well. Being really facetious there because I didn't predict we'd be in the top 4. But
where did I put Man United? 5th?
I've no idea. Our predictions weren't very on point this year. You did, however, predict Tottenham Hotspur, who were in 5th to finish 3rd. So could yet happen. Newcastle blowing everyone away with a really bang average side in terms of quality, but there they are in 4th place.
They've just sold Chris Wood, so you know.
Have they? Where's he gone?
Nottingham Forest.
Nottingham Forest are still buying everyone.
They're just trying to sign anyone.
Jesus. Fulham, my tip to stay up out of all the relegation out of all of the promoted teams. Dan and Pete also had them to go straight back down. Yeah,
Still
not very
time.
good.
Still time.
I predicted that Brighton and Hove Albion in 7th wouldn't be very good. And, well, they got a new manager.
I think I predicted Brentford to go down as well.
Yes, you did. We both had concerns about them. Liverpool are absolutely crapping it in 9th. We're not quite sure what's going on there.
Right, because this weekend is Liverpool Chelsea, which has been renamed the El Shitico, which I've quite enjoyed.
Well, there you go. Chelsea right underneath them in 10th. Chelsea, who are buying everyone, by the way, since our last podcast, they've signed Mudryk from Shakhtar Donetsk. They've signed, was it Maduke from PSV today? Was that right, Dan?
Benoit Bashishil?
Badashil. Yeah, Benoit Badashil's come in.
And Andre Santos.
And I think there was somebody else as well.
There's a few others for fun.
They spent approximately £500 million since the summer. Financial fair play is a myth, ladies and gentlemen. It's a myth. Aston Villa coasting along comfortably in 11th. There's been quite a few managerial changes as well, we're going to have to point out here. Brighton and Hove Albion lost their manager to Chelsea. Well, that didn't go very well for Chelsea. Brighton are fine. Aston Villa started the season with Steven Gerrard and have now got Unai Emery, who's trying to rectify Steven Gerrard's mistakes.
Still trying to learn to count on the Disney Channel.
Fun. Yeah. Steven Gerrard, so fantastic, a manager that even Poland turned him down recently. Unhappy news for Dan and Pete. Crystal Palace are comfortably playing quite well, actually.
Yeah, look at that form. I mean, they're not. Look at the form.
I know, but still.
They put in a good performance.
Nottingham Forest surprising everyone up in 13th, considering the fact that they've signed about 3 clubs worth of players and signed even more today, according to Dan. We predicted them to go down. We shall see.
They still will, don't worry.
Leeds United struggling along. I did have concerns for them. Leicester City really sinking fast.
Yeah, but great character.
Yeah, great character. Get you everywhere. Although they have just agreed a £17 million fee for what was this? Christiansen.
From Copenhagen.
Yeah, £17 million to Denmark. That's a lot of money to go to Denmark.
Denmark, the country.
Yeah,
the whole country.
Wow. How many players are you going to sign for 17 million from Denmark? Come on, be real. Bournemouth surprisingly holding their head just above the line. We did predict that they go straight back down. West Ham. What has happened at West Ham, Dan?
I want to make a bold prediction. Are you ready for this?
Go on, then.
West Ham sack David Moyes.
That's about as bold as my prediction.
Well, no, wait for it. No. You need to let me finish. You get sacked by West Ham, and in under 2 weeks after that, he'll be managing Everton.
And I'll go even bolder and say 2 weeks after that, Frank Lampard turns up at West Ham.
I don't think the West Ham fans will like that.
He's played there.
Yeah, they don't like him. It's like Scott Parker coming back to Charlton. It's not going to go well, is it?
Well, speaking of Scott Parker, actually, he started the season with Bournemouth. And he's now managing in the Champions League with Club Brugge or someone.
Brugge, yeah.
Belgium. Everton, Pete's tip to go down, and very clearly quite an accurate tip for the first time. And holding up the bottom of the league, although to be fair, they're all on 15 points, is his previous year's prediction, which was Southampton. So about a year late. So that's about right for our predictions for all of us.
So I think Southampton will be fine because they've got Nathan Jones, and I trust Nathan Jones.
He's not doing well though, Dan.
I mean, he's only had 3. I think he's had 3 league games, 1-1, drawn 1, lost 1.
He's got to have had more than that, surely.
And then he's had 2 cup games because of the cup. They've had the World Cup, which he hired in.
Right.
And he's had the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup game, so he's not actually had that many games in charge.
In the Championship, my tip Burnley to go down. We're actually at the top of the table. Vincent Kompany's come in, and despite my criticism of him being not a very good manager, he's making me look like a right twat. Thank you very much there, Vincent. Second in the table, Sheffield United. I don't think that's a surprise, is it?
Not massively. I mean, I did think that maybe that they wouldn't be that good, but yeah, they're doing all right.
Watford, who all of us predicted to go straight back up again because they're a yo-yo club. In third, a big surprise is Middlesbrough under Michael Carrick following him leaving Manchester United at the beginning of the season. Taken them from the bottom of the table all the way up to fourth. He seems to be doing a bang-up job there, Dan.
I predicted Middlesbrough to do well this year, so I'm not overly surprised. I mean, the turnaround that Michael Carrick's led there. I watched a really interesting YouTube video about how Michael Carrick's changed the way that Middlesbrough play. It's really effective. So they're starting really well. They're scoring goals. They've stopped leaking as well, which is a huge positive for them.
The Chicken Club, Blackburn Rovers.
How were they -4 goal difference and in the playoffs?
Oh,
And they haven't drawn
idea.
a game this season. What the?
No idea. But I mean, if you look at it, they have not drawn a game. It is 1-14, lost 13. Jesus,
Impressive.
that's
West Brom have also done a Middlesbrough. Their manager, what's his name? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He used to manage Huddersfield. Carlos Coberan, former assistant Leeds. When he took over, I think they were 23rd.
right.
So he's had a massive turnaround for them as well. And then there's a nice chasing pack in the Championship there, all the way down to, really, you could say, to Reading, couldn't you? Really, only
Absolutely.
2 games off.
Luton Town doing it again without Nathan Jones.
Well,
as well.
For most of the season, they had Nathan Jones. So,
but they're carrying it on as they're going up. Millwall going up the table. Norwich City surprisingly.
Pete weren't happy about that one.
No, he won't be. Norwich City surprisingly a little bit lower than I would have expected. I thought they would have been.
Yeah, Dean really struggled under Dean Smith. However, they did win with their new manager in charge. And again, I cannot remember his name.
Sunderland, my tip to do well this year in the Championship, are 10th. So I think that's very good considering they've come up. Although they spent a bit of money. They signed, was it Jack Clark for about £6 million or something from Tottenham, wasn't it?
They pretty much reloaded on the squad they had last year, which did really well in League One. And then they added a few extra players. Amad Diallo has been really good for them.
Been on loan from Manchester United. He scored some worldies, actually, I must admit. Swansea City mulling around in mid-table.
Yeah, there's a group of teams, Swansea, QPR, Preston, Reading. They can't really decide what they want to be this year. They seem to just... Preston's form pretty much sums it up. And QPR have drawn a lot. QPR, since they lost just before they lost Michael Beale, dropped off a little bit and still haven't really recovered.
Where did Michael Beale go? Rangers. Coventry City.
Look at that form for Birmingham. Beautiful.
Oh dear, they're not having a good time, are they? Coventry City finally under new ownership and trying to sort out their stadium. Fingers crossed for them that they do actually get that sorted out. Hull City in 16th, Bristol City in 17th, really continuing to make me look stupid from last year. 18th Birmingham City, 19th Rotherham, 20th Stoke City. I'm a bit surprised by that. What's gone wrong at Stoke City?
Players are shit.
Who's their manager?
Was Mike O'Neill? He got sacked. I don't know who it is now.
Cardiff City not doing well at all.
They've just sacked their manager again. They're on their 3rd manager of the year.
I'm not surprised, judging
by... Supposed to be Neil
Warnock,
supposedly.
We shall wait and see. Huddersfield Town in 22nd, Blackpool in 23rd, and Wigan Athletic.
That is some grim... If those 3 come down, I'm giving up going to away games.
It's bad doo-doo, that. It's not doing well.
I've been to 2 of them. And they're both shitholes. Yeah. You're welcome to the people of Blackpool and Huddersfield.
So much love here on the Football Funders podcast. By the way, if you do like watching us, well, watching Dan today because my camera's buggered, do like this video, subscribe to the channel so we know who the people are that are watching. That way we can be really, really nice to you. In League One, this is where Dan's bread and butter is.
Unless you're a Palace fan.
Plymouth Argyle, top of the league. I wouldn't have thought that, but I don't know much about them. Sheffield Wednesday looks like they're finally getting their act together. Do we expect them to go up, Dan, much to your dismay?
I think Ipswich are going to play a role at some point. It's between those three for sure. Plymouth last year were doing something quite similar and then dropped off towards the end. They're hoped to. It looks like they're going to continue it this year. They do look really strong. So I think the top three, it might change, but that is the cut off. I think Derby and Bolton have a chance to catch them, but I think it's just unlikely. That playoffs is really good, by the way.
Barnsley in 6. Ironically, I think all of these, except for Plymouth, are former Premier League sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
Barnsley in 6th, Peterborough in 7th, Wycombe Wanderers in 8th, Bristol Rovers, Exeter City, and Port Vale go in at 9th, 10th, and 11th. And 12th under new management.
We're in the top half.
They're in the top half for the first time this season, I think.
Yes.
Tongue in cheek. But under new management and
probably true.
Possibly under new ownership soon, because they are in a period of exclusivity with a potential buyer, Charlton. How are you getting on with the new manager now, Dan? You weren't too
we're winning games. As I said to you,
optimistic at first.
Well, like I said, like I wasn't optimistic. I wouldn't say I wasn't optimistic. I was. What's the right one? I wasn't like amazed at the appointment, but as I said at the podcast when we talked about it, I was willing to give him my full support and let him see what he could do. And it looks like he's, from what we're hearing, obviously we don't know if it's true, but it sounds like he's turned the changing room attitude around. He talks, and I don't know how much if you've read of him, but he talks he's very aware of his surroundings, if that makes sense. And I try and explain it using like his press conference. One of the first things he said so for background people, Charlton people don't know, Charlton signed Macaulay Bonne, who we had 2 seasons ago. He left under a bit of a cloud. He made a comment about joining a bigger club, etc., which upset the fans. Listen, he went to a higher league, so I don't really blame him. And then at the end of the window in the summer, we tried to sign him again. It failed. He put like a GIF up on Instagram. It turns out it may have been aimed at QPR rather than at Charlton, but obviously Charlton fans weren't like happy about it. Charlton fans aren't happy about anything, so it doesn't necessarily surprise me. But Macaulay Bonne re-signed for us. Obviously, there was a bit of slack, and then Dean Holden said in his press conference, the first thing he said was like, "So happy to hear the fans singing Macaulay's name."
Yeah,
and it was like, wasn't about the result. It was just about what he could. He seems to be a very visual and he listens a lot.
Yes.
And I think that helps when you're in a club like Charlton, which is kind of falling apart, where Ben Garner came in and went, right, we're doing it this way. Everyone else just go. This is how we're going to do it. Dean's kind of come in and seemed to have gone, right. Apparently he sat down with every player, had conversations with them, and they did like a team pact.
Right.
He made them they wrote like a document out and they all to sign it and stuff to say this is how we're going to go forward.
This is how we're going to behave.
A little bit cringy in some eyes.
I've
had to do it at a former job, and I found it hilarious.
They do it. They do it with kids at secondary school.
No, exactly. Now. They do it with kids.
Yeah, I was going to say my son had to do it. He brought it home one day from school. He was like, "I've got to sign this," and I was just like, "What on earth is this?"
Yeah, I've done it in my last job. I had to do it with my team there, but yeah, listen, it's worked. The lads, they're playing better. They look happier. We're seeing performances like the Man United game. We did a whole podcast on it more or less, but I think under Ben Garner we get absolutely tanked in that game, and it wasn't a 3-0 at the end. So we're turning it around. We've this stretch of games that we've had. Obviously, we've played 2 playoff sides and beat them. We've got Peterborough Saturday, who, if I'm right, are like 8th. Is that correct on the table?
Let's have a quick scroll.
And
Peterborough 7th.
Yeah, and then next Saturday we're on TV.
Oh, you're on TV on
Sky against Sports? Bolton, who are a playoff side. So, got an interesting stretch. And I think if we come out of that, really, you went into that stretch, offered me 6 points, I'd take it. Well, we're already on 6. So, whatever we get from now, bonus.
Also, speaking of Dean Holden, as a Manchester United fan, I would like to apologise for Manchester United's heartless email they sent him the following day, or is it the day after we beat Charlton. They sent him an email because he's a season ticket holder at Manchester United, confirming the dates for the next round, having just been knocked out. So it's obviously automated. But yeah, shithousery maybe, just bad timing. Who knows?
Well, he's a season ticket holder, so.
I just thought it was amazing.
Eric,
It was just like
literally
shame I didn't screenshot it. It was like, dear Dean.
I don't know if it was this week. It might have been this week actually. He went up to Carrington.
Yeah.
To watch Ten Hag do a training session.
I'm not surprised. We've got a very good manager.
Ten Hag said to him, "Come up, spend a day at Carrington. I'll show you how we do things." And he'd be silly to say no, wouldn't he? Really? So
absolutely.
But the bottom of this league is tight. I think from anyone from. I mean, Portsmouth's form's really not good. I'll go Lincoln down and give Portsmouth the benefit of the doubt that they'll turn it around. Anyone from Lincoln down is in a bit of a scrap.
But this is the thing I've grown to love about the lower leagues, is just the fact that it's always so tight in every league, everywhere. Like 2 wins and all of a sudden you're in the playoffs, 2 losses and all of a sudden you're in the relegation zone.
Yeah,
it's so much fun to watch.
We're kind of sat right now in that place of kind of nowhere near you, and we're nowhere near you either.
But I think that's arguably what you might want realistically, isn't it? If you can just get a period of consolidation with a new manager while the club sorts out its long-term future.
This club will never sort out its long-term future.
Well, it depends who the next owners are. If the people coming in are any good.
The people that currently are coming in are buying a 75% share of the club and are run by the people that used to own Sunderland. So if you want to see the mess that they made at Sunderland, go and watch their Netflix documentary.
Well, on the plus side, it might mean you get a Charlton documentary.
It does. However, I will admit, if you watch the second season of Sunderland Till I Die, it's got a fantastic ending.
Why?
Because it ends with Charlton winning at Wembley.
Okay. Oxford United in 13th, Shrewsbury Town in 14th, Portsmouth lagging in 15th, Lincoln City 16th, Fleetwood Town 17th.
Lincoln's form looks like a London tube. There you go, move on.
Yes, it does actually. Minor gap. Fleetwood Town, Cheltenham Town, Accrington Stanley, Morecambe.
Go on, Morecambe.
17 to 20th. Excuse me, I apologise. 21st, Cambridge. Milton Keynes Dons. I didn't expect them to be in the relegation zone. Yes, the franchise. Burton in 23rd, Forest Green Rovers.
And the Carrot Munchers are last.
Absolutely.
You deserve to be last for not eating food properly.
Oh, dear. Do we bother to look at Division 2 quickly?
Yeah, League 2 is interesting. You won't see the playoff picture.
All right, come on then. Let's have a look.
League 2 is a bit everywhere. Apart from the top two have won it, buggered off. Oh, you're doing a D double die.
Yeah, I know. I've just turned it off again.
Have a look at that playoff picture.
Sorry.
13th place, 4 points off the playoffs. Oh.
Really? Let's have a look. Oh, suit you, sir. Yeah, you're right.
14th place is so tight. Basically,
well, actually, if you're looking at 15th, you're looking at 5 points between 15th and 7th.
Yeah, it's like
2 wins, and you go literally to the edge of the playoffs. That's insane.
The top 2 have already buggered off and won it. We can already. Leighton Orient and Stevenage, who play this weekend, they're having a fight of their own. Northampton were with them, but as you can see, Northampton have decided it's time to bottle it for this year. And then Bradford can't get out of this league. They've been stuck here for flipping years. Salford will drop off at some point. It always happens. And towards the bottom of League 2, Gillingham are still in the bottom 2. That's the important detail.
Let's have a look. Where are we? Well, they're bottom. They're ranked bottom.
Hey!
Potentially going out of the Football League. That will make every Charlton
They
fan
did win
happy.
at the weekend, and their owner, they've got a new owner, American businessman, who has, to be fair to him, is spending the money. So
he's going to need to if he wants them to stay a Football League club.
They bought Tom Nichols from Crawley, who's a relegation rival, but he's a good striker. So I think there's rumours that they might be trying to sign Jane Stockley from us. So Gillingham are busy and they're active. They signed George Lapsley as well from Mansfield. So they're hoping to find some players to pull away a little bit. Newport looks like a London tube as well.
if they do stay up, then that three-legged dog's tail will be wagging quite ferociously, I think. Oh dear, excuse me. So that's the tables as they stand.
We are lagging quite badly, by the way, on the stream. Okay, there's not a stream anymore.
Oh, that's okay because I've just turned it off, so that's absolutely fine. Given how badly my computer is performing right now, I'm genuinely curious. I just wonder. Is that any better? Oh, that's a very dodgy color. I'm using my built-in one. It's absolutely terrible. But you know what? I'm just going to turn it off. It looks even worse. Oh dear, this is not doing well. On to our next story. Now, wow. Holy moly.
I don't know what he's worrying about, ladies and gentlemen, because I can't see.
Oh God, where do we start with this? John Yems. Oh, the F.A. Jesus, the F.A. just can't get anything right, can they? Even when they get an independent panel, they screw it up. And now the F.A. are basically looking at suing themselves. They're taking, oh God, where do we start? Has the screen come through?
Yes, I've stopped my video. It stopped lagging. So just to let people know.
Okay, thank you very much. Apologies, ladles and jelly spoons. Hopefully you can still see the screen. I don't know. Yes, so excuse me. Former Crawley manager John Yems has been banned for football for 18 months for multiple breaches of the Football Association's rules relating to discriminatory comments. And sorry, excuse me. Just a heads up, we don't normally do controversial stuff, but this is about racism and discriminatory language. So, disclaimer, this is not us saying these things. We will be quoting what has been found. The man has been found guilty on, I believe, 12 counts, I think.
Yeah, 12 of the 16.
And he only admitted to one. Now, the FA aren't happy with the ruling by the Independent Council. They've said here, and I'll read it out to you in case you can't see it. The FA brought 16 charges of discriminations against John Yems. The Independent Regulatory Commission decided on an 18-month ban for the 12 charges, which it upheld or was admitted. Again, he admitted one of 16 charges. We had requested a longer ban based on the evidence presented to the Commission. We fundamentally disagree with the independent panel's finding that this was not a case of conscious racism. As a result, we are considering our legal options. Now, let's read the findings.
Do we want to, without dropping the use of words? I have the some of the sentences he was
I've got
said to have
they're
said.
also going to be on the screen because they're going to be on this. So again, disclaimer, this is not my opinion. This is not Dan's opinion. This is Mr. John Yems, a former football manager of Crawley Town. He said to several of his different players at various times, excuse me, he described Muslim members of his squad as terrorists. He deliberately mispronounced the second half of Arnold Schwarzenegger's name to emphasize the N-word in it. Used a racial stereotype to a black player of African origin by asking if he liked jerk chicken. Told Muslim players, your people blow up stuff with vests. Said that an Iraqi youth international at the club would probably blow up the stadium. Repeatedly made comments about another player carrying a bomb in his bag. Called one player a curry muncher and asked if the player was unhappy that they did not serve curry pizza. Made a remark to one player about how dark his skin was on his return to Crawley after representing Grenada. Oh, jeez.
Big.
Honestly, the FA panel said in its finding, we regard this as an extremely serious case. We have accepted that Mr. Yems is not a conscious racist. If he were, an extremely lengthy, even permanent suspension would be appropriate. Nevertheless, Mr. Yems' banter undoubtedly came across to the victims and others as offensive, racist, and Islamophobic. Mr. Yems simply paid no regard to the distress which his misplaced jocularity was causing. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And this was a panel, an independent panel. And somehow, I'm going to say it, even if nobody else will. How is this not racism? How on earth is this? Don't even start with unconscious bias. Seriously. How is this not racism? He even gave a
What is
interview.
racism if that's not racism?
I have an issue with the actual term racism, but because just purely for the fact that we're all members of the human race. So for me, racism would be against aliens essentially, but it's words. But this is mental. How can you not think possibly that this was done unconsciously? This isn't a comedian trying to be funny. This is bullshit. I'm not going to say anything else. He gave an interview on TalkSport today, and he seems to think that he didn't say half of this stuff. He's been accused of some other stuff, like trying to segregate his dressing room, which apparently weren't true. And he's claimed, unbelievably, that he thinks that he should be in receipt of an apology. Dan, go for it, mate, because I'm baffled.
I think you've said everything. It's bizarre. I think whoever this independent panel is, someone should do an independent panel on them. Frankly, because how can you read those statements and just be like, yeah, it's not racism? Like even if he admits to one of those statements, which apparently he has, that's enough. You're a racist. Bye bye. And also this might sound harsh. If you've seen his no, so I don't even care if it sounds harsh. If you see the rest of his interviews, where he's doing it for Sky, BBC, whatever, you can already tell that a very aggressive man comes across as a bit of a knob. So when these allegations come out, no one was surprised. It's taken so long to have anything actually to be done. It's been a joke from the start till now. I wouldn't, and I've read somewhere that am I right thinking that the FA have appealed it?
They're looking into their legal options at the moment to try and get an extended ban. But the stupid thing is, the ban is set by the FA. So it's the FA rules, the FA consequences. The independent panel have come back with a verdict that I'm assuming the FA employ to work for them. There was even, this is what baffles me the most, is there was a black man, a former black professional footballer, on the panel, if my information is correct, and somehow they came back saying he's not a conscious racist. He asked one of his players whether they slept in bed with an AK-47, for crying out loud.
I said when you asked my opinion, if this is not a problem and not racism, I don't really know what is anymore.
We're supposed to be kicking racism out, right?
It's a joke. It's a joke. The man should be nowhere near football. The fact that in 18 months' time he's going to be allowed to walk back into football is disgusting.
Let's be honest, he's never going to get another job in football. But you're absolutely right. He should not be allowed the opportunity to go back to work. I'm all for redemption and for people getting a chance to redeem themselves. But Jesus Christ, he called someone a curry muncher. This is like,
I mean, it's not banter, is it? Like,
this is like
it's
really bad. It's not. This is like really bad comedy from 1979.
Your people blow up stuff with vests. You don't say something like that unless you genuinely mean it.
And apparently, he asked a bunch of Nigerians if they like jerk chicken repeatedly, even though they told him that was a Jamaican delicacy.
Yeah, I saw that one as well.
Honestly, absolutely baffled. And if you think this is weird, ladies and gentlemen, we're going from downright unbelievable to absolutely bizarre. So, as I said, we've got completely bizarre now, from unbelievable to bizarre. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies, our cameras are both off. Technical difficulties, but we're going to soldier on as we must. The parents of US men's soccer star are at the center of a bizarre scandal that's threatened to tarnish his coach's reputation, a new report says. Now, Dan, you brought this to my attention.
Yes.
So go for it.
Okay, so before we start, we'll tell you who it's about. It's about the Giovanni Reyna at the World Cup was playing for America, and he was told by his coach, which is Gerd, I don't say his last name, do you?
Bert Harler, I think it is.
Well, him, that his training was not up to standard.
Berhalter,
There you
sorry.
go, Greg Berhalter, and basically you won't be getting much time. This upset Gio Reyna, and basically there was a vote between the American players to decide whether he was going to stay in the squad or go home. The squad voted to keep him, and apparently it was not a one-sided vote. It was genuinely quite close. But to get into the story, we have to go back to kids. So when they were kids, I'm sure people will know Giovanni Reyna's dad is Claudio Reyna, who played for Sunderland and Rangers, I believe, in the UK.
Yep.
And Greg Berhalter played in America in the MLS.
And
They
for
grew
Crystal
up
Palace,
together.
I believe.
No, he's wrong already then. So they grew up. They grew up together in the same town, and they played for the same high school team. They played for the same Sunday team. They then went to college. Both went to college in North Carolina. They went to the two rival colleges, so they played each other twice a year, effectively, in college football. One was at North Carolina, and I believe the other one was at NC State, I think it was. Greg Berhalter's wife also went to the same university and was dating Greg. And Giovanni Reyna's, not Jared, Claudio Reyna's wife was also at the same university as Greg and his wife. So they have been friends for a long, long time. Greg Berhalter was also Claudio Reyna's best man at his wedding. And then the World Cup happened, and well, I'll read the statement from Greg Berhalter because it was very quiet. And then obviously Greg Berhalter, then I'll read a little bit of his statement that he declared on the website. If I can just find it. We'll start with the American one. The American one says, upon learning of the allegation against U.S.A. men's national team head coach Greg Berhalter on December 11th, 2022, U.S. Soccer immediately hired Alston and Bird to conduct an independent investigation into the matter. So what was rumored was that as a 18-year-old man, there was an incident, an altercation between Greg Berhalter and his wife, or girlfriend at the time. Through this process, US Soccer has learned about a potential inappropriate behaviour towards multiple members of our staff by individuals outside of our organisation. We take such behaviour seriously and have expanded our investigation to include those allegations. At the same time, it's in literally minutes, Greg Berhalter made a statement. I won't read the whole thing. I'll summarise it. He basically said that during the World Cup, an individual contacted US Soccer saying that they had information that would take me down. He then goes on to admit that there was an incident between him and his wife back in 1991, and that they both seek counselling. They broke up for a while, have been together now, have a happy life, etc., etc. This obviously came as Greg Berhalter's contract was naturally coming to an end anyway, but this is where it still gets a bit funny, but we'll get on to that in a minute. So after a while, the story was out there that someone had said something, but we didn't know what the deal was. Obviously, Greg had admitted that there was this altercation, but we didn't know the situation. Then a few days later, it came out in the press that Claudio Reyna's wife was the one that had leaked the news. Daniela Reyna said, to cut the record straight, I did call the sport on the December, just after the news broke, that Greg had made negative statements about my son Gio. I've known Ernie for years and I consider him to be a close friend. I wanted to let him know that I was absolutely outraged and devastated that Gio had been put in such a terrible position. So basically, this is the problem I have with it. You're so upset that your son's not the chosen boy. You've decided to leak some news that happened 31 years ago now. She goes on to say that the incident that she saw had scarred her for life. And it was hurtful and harmful to see her best friend in that manner. as well as the pain that it caused herself. She then says that she commends the recent efforts by US Soccer to address abuse of women's players, and I understand now that an obligation to investigate what I shared, but I want to be very clear that I did not ask for Greg to be fired. I'm sorry that the information became public, and I regret that I played a role in something that could reopen wounds from the past. Now, the reason I brought this up, Ryan, onto you, was one, because it's a bit out of nowhere. But to me, as much as all the problems and obviously Greg and his wife, etc., I'm going to take that away from it. I'm going to try and go around that, because it seems like as a family they've moved on. Greg's admitted he was wrong. He seek counselling, etc. So I don't want to comment on that too much. This screams of a mum or a lady who just didn't get her own way, so would do anything to try and get her own way, and then come out in the press saying that, oh, well, it's been hurting me for 31 years. But it's funny. I saw it as, it's funny you've decided to say, oh, it's hurt me for so long, after your son's not got his way against your husband's best friend. It seems a bit weird.
I think this is mental. First of all, let me start by saying I do not condone what Greg
No, of course not.
Berhalter did. The allegation which he's confessed to, so I suppose it's not an allegation, but
the incident.
The incident is apparently when they were teenagers. I think they were about 19. He had an argument.
College.
Yeah, he had an argument with his then girlfriend, who is his now wife, and apparently he kicked her in the leg. He lashed out and kicked her in the leg. Apparently, as Dan said, he sought counselling and etc. etc. So I don't condone what he did. Violence against anyone is completely unacceptable. But this was about what, 30 years ago?
31 years ago.
So why on earth is the Giovanni Reyna's mum or girlfriend bringing it? I think it's his mum.
It's his mum. It's his mum. Yeah.
Bringing this to the fore just because, and let's not beat around the bush. Giovanni Reyna has come out and said he wasn't training properly. He did not act as well as he should have done when he received the news that he wasn't going to be playing because he wasn't training properly. So her son's admitted that he's in the wrong. But his mum, the over-pushy soccer parent, is the only way I can describe her, has decided that because she doesn't like the way her son was treated, even though her son was being a bellend, she's going to release a 31-year-old secret to seek revenge and try and get this man sacked from his job and try and basically, what's the right word? Evoke council culture and discredit this man's reputation based on something he did 31 years ago. This is completely bizarre behavior. And unfortunately, it's becoming more and more common, such as the idea of council culture in society today. This is mental Americans for you.
The thing that, as I said, like in my kind of brief summary, the thing that gets me is, and there seems to be the view on the internet has come out of it, it was actually nothing to do with the allegation, nothing to do with Giovanni Reyna. As we said, like, obviously we condone the incident, but the main takeaway is that Giovanni Reyna's mum's a twat, basically.
Yes.
The bit that I genuinely, this is going to sound wrong, so I'm going to try and say it the right word. I almost genuinely laughed, or not even laughed, I don't even know what the term was, when she said how much it hurt her 31 years ago. And I thought, but it's never bothered you enough to say anything. You were happy for them to get married. You're happy to have them highly involved in your wedding. You're happy for your children to grow up around him. Yeah. But now it's a problem.
It's a hit piece.
And then she comes out and says, well, I wasn't trying to get him sacked. So what exactly were you trying
to do? Exactly. What exactly were you trying to do? Because leaking this kind of crap obviously is trying to damage someone in some way. Just because you feel damaged twice over in the space of 31 years.
Yeah.
Oh, how unfortunate. Recommended video is Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
It's got to a point where now Greg Berhalter, I mean, probably was going to lose his job anyway, in complete fairness. They haven't decided. U.S.A. are playing games soon because of the North American schedule. He's not going to be in charge. but they've not ruled out his return. Claudio Reyna himself is general manager at Austin FC, and apparently the owners at Austin are watching the situation. And the guy in charge of US Soccer, who's kind of let this all bubble and leak out, obviously his job's now going to be questioned. And then you've still got Gio Reyna, who's a footballer, still trying to go about his life. So one statement has basically could knock out 4 people's livelihoods because she was a bit upset that her son was told off.
Here's a statement from Danielle's, the person who leaked the statement. I want to be very clear that I did not ask for Greg to be fired. I did not make any threats, and I don't know anything about any blackmail attempts, nor have I ever had any discussions about anyone else on Greg's staff. I don't know any of the other coaches. I did not communicate with anyone in US Soccer about this matter before December the 11th, and no one else in my family has made any statements to US Soccer regarding Greg's past at all. So is what, she now denying it? Or
no,
denying she hadn't said anything up until then?
Yeah, she's basically saying, well, I hadn't said anything since. It's just that one off. It just screams of I think she realised when it came out that there was more. I think what she was trying to do is she was trying to defend herself without beforehand. When it came out, there wasn't a. It was kind of like, okay, this happened, and then it was almost not brushed under the carpet, but moved on from. It was like, okay, it looks like he's going to go, etc. Then she came out and made the statement. I think she thought she'd come out looking like a star, but she's come out looking like a dick, frankly.
Apparently, Gio's father, Claudio, who, as Dan said, has played in this country, also complained about the treatment of their son.
Yeah.
However, at no time did I ever threaten anyone, nor would I ever do so. That was his dad. But what is genuinely even more bizarre is, if just going to scroll back up very quickly, this is a statement from Giovanni Reyna concerning his behavior at the time. I fully acknowledge that I let my emotions get the best of me and affect my training and behavior for a few days after learning about my limited role. I apologize to my teammates and coach for this, and I was told I was forgiven. I am disappointed that there is continuing coverage of this matter, as well as some highly fictionalized versions of events, and extremely surprised that anyone on the US men's team staff would contribute to it. I'm starting to wonder if there's something wrong with the Reyna family, because he's gone from apologizing for his behavior to then saying, yeah, but people are making shit up.
There was a press conference where they talked about it in a bit more detail, but I don't think, again, I just think it's a case of his wife, as in Claudio's wife, has dropped herself in it and then was trying to escape at pace, but has made herself look worse. And then obviously her family have had to come to her rescue. It's not worked. I think the most, from what I can see of the American soccer, in quotation, fan base, most of it is saying, look, what happened. And obviously, they said the same as us, like should never have happened. But the look on the Reynas, I think, is very different to what it was before the World Cup, shall we say.
I don't understand why any parent, when their son is a professional athlete, over the age of voting, old enough to live on his own in a foreign country, because he plays for Borussia Dortmund in Germany, so it's not like he's based in the States, are going to ring up his national team coach just because they're mates to complain, oh, do me a favor, make sure my boy gets to play. Are we going back to the days of nepotism?
Well, do you want to know the real pettiness?
Go on.
Greg Berhalter's son was on loan at Austin FC, which is where Claudio Reyna's the GM of.
And they've terminated his loan.
Yeah, terminated his loan.
So what? So we're bringing even more people in it who doesn't want it. It has nothing to do with it.
It's incredible.
So not only are they punished,
desperate housewives of the MLS.
Not only is he punished for something that happened 31 years ago, his wife's got to relive this. His son's getting punished because it's affecting his career. This is mental.
Yep. And it's all because one woman's upset. And it's not even a woman who is remotely involved in any of the situations.
I could understand if it was the person that he'd kicked and then she married his best mate. But seriously,
involved with their kids growing up. If that much of a problem, you wouldn't have let your child grow up around this person.
honestly, this is insane. Honestly, this is probably two of the most bizarre stories I've heard in football in ages. We've got someone who is very clearly being racist, deemed not to be racist. And then we've got over
This Womble.
over pushy parents. Well, it's not one Womble, is it? Claudio was just as bad. They're both like over pushy parents.
But she started it.
Here's a news flash, you mental head cases. He's an adult. He's responsible for his own behaviour. He's not your baby anymore. Keep your nose out of his career. This is mental. Genuinely bizarre week in football, ladies and gentlemen. Genuinely bizarre. And we're going to round off this very bizarre week of football funders.
How bizarre.
Exactly.
Sorry.
By going old school on you all, because if you've listened to this podcast before, you'll all know that we love a bit of Football Manager on this podcast. All three of us play. And during our first debut year with the podcast last year, we started doing Football Manager Scout Report, which was basically when we played the game, 9 times out of 10, we'd find a hidden gem and we'd exchange it with each other to help build our team. So we thought we'd share those with you. So as we've gone visually as much as possible, and apologize to all viewers and listeners from next week, we'll be going audio only until we can fix the problem. So I bring to you Mickey van der Ven. He's a 21-year-old Dutchman defender who can play, is a centre-half, but can play left-back as well. As I've talked previously, it's all about determination for me. The higher the determination, the better the player. And as you can see, he's got acceleration of 14 and pace of 17. So very quick. He's got decent stamina. He's got good strength. He can pass the ball. He can head the ball. For 21 years old and £8 million I paid for him for my Newcastle side. This kid is 5-star potential, absolute bargain. Get him while you can at the beginning of the game before his price goes up. That is my advice to you. And the other thing is he doesn't seem to get called up for international duty because he's Dutch. Although for some reason
they're not licensed on the game.
No, but for some reason Sven Botman does. But I don't play Sven Botman because for some reason I don't know why they're almost the same age. There's only a year's difference. And this guy's about 5 times faster than Sven Botman, but Newcastle decided to find Sven Botman last year instead of this dude. And on to Dan's recommendation.
Do you play him centre half or left back?
Centre half. I have to play him covering because Dan Burns has got a pace of 9. So, and Sven Botman's got a pace of 10. So I've got no one quick at the back. Unreal. Yeah, it's stunning.
The speed
is unbelievable. But to be fair, we're doing really well. I'm top of the league at the moment. But
what's that Jeremy Clarkson quote about the speed?
I have no idea.
I can't remember it. Oh, so good.
If you remember it.
Oh, look, there's my boy. Look.
Right, this is Dan's recommendation. I have no idea who this guy is, Dan, so it's over to you for this one.
Right, so this is Fran Navarro. Now, for anyone who, most of the players that we've suggested to you over the time that we've been doing them, it's normally, as Ryan said, wonder kids, players that can play at the top level. Not so much in this case. I'm not sure, as you see from his stats, that Fran could quite do it at the top level. But I have had him in the Bundesliga at a mid-table side. I've had him in Scotland, and I've now currently got him in the Premier League, and he will get you 15 goals. Physically, he's not great, I'll be honest, but absolute poacher. I mean, it does say that his preferred role, as you can see, is a poacher. 2-star. Is this on your Newcastle save? Or is it just a random load up?
No, this is on it's on the start of my Newcastle save.
So Fran Navarro, I've had it. So I wish I should have sent Ryan the screenshots. Really, he scored 40 goals in a league campaign in Scotland. I had him with 21 for Hertha Berlin in Germany, and I think he had about 13, maybe 14 on my save where I'm I'm in the Premier League with QPR. So that was just when we just came up. So 3 successful trips. As I said, I'm not sure he'd get on at a top team. I mean, for instance, Newcastle, he's a 2-star player. I urge you, if you are a team that's kind of in the mid-table and you just want someone to poke you in goals, Fran's your man. 15 finishing, composure of 15, off the ball of 15. Has a knack of just getting into positions to score, as those stats prevail. As I said, his physicals aren't great. He's not the best all-round player, but if you're just looking for someone that can, even if it's off the bench, come in and pop you goals and you've got 2 better options, Fran Navarro's your man. I've signed him each time for about £4 million. Sometimes a little bit more with add-ons. Obviously, if you can get him for as cheap as 650k, do. His wages, the highest I've had him, I think he's on about 25k in my QPR save. So if you're just looking for someone, as I said, as a third option or someone in a rotational, Fran Navarro's your man. Obviously, if you move on to the point where you're fighting for Europe, he has won a Europa League with me. But obviously, as I said, statistically, you can see where some of his downfalls are. He's good all round, I think we could say, Ryan. Statistically,
he's a solid all rounder. He's not gonna.
He's not great at anything. He's not bad at anything either.
Well, to be fair, looking at these stats, he's a hell of a finisher.
Oh, he's natural. That's what I mean. He's a poacher all day long.
How much did you pay for him?
So I think about £4 million every time.
£4 million for a guy who's going to give you 15 goals a season at mid-table level. You can't knock it. He'd probably be starting at someone like Brighton as a regular.
Yeah, does a good job. Like I said, he walked the Scottish League. He scored goals for me in the Bundesliga and in the Premier League. So I think just get him and play him.
So, right. Again, apologies for our technical difficulties this week. Not quite sure what's happened, but we're going to revert to an audio format only. We'll still post up on YouTube, but they will be audio only. And as always, we're available to download on iTunes. No, it's not iTunes anymore, is it? Sorry, as I found out today, it's Apple Podcasts now. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Anchor, FM, anywhere else you can download us to listen to us at any point rather than have to worry about wasting all your data on a YouTube video. But do go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe if you would be so kind. So that way we do get a good idea of our actual audience. And you can follow us on Twitter at FBallFunders. You can email us at footballfunderspod@gmail.com. Is that right, Dan?
It is. He's got there at last.
I'm getting there. Trust me. Between editing this, doing the graphics for this, and presenting this, because Pete's lost at sea somewhere. We've no idea where our main presenter's actually gone. Dan's lucky. He just has to turn up and try and see if his camera will work, just like me. Anyway, thank you all very much for tuning in, and hopefully next time we'll actually be able to physically see you soon. Say good night, Dan.
Good night, Dan.
We'll see you all soon. Take care, everyone. Ta-ta.